Welcome to the Leader's Edge podcast. I'm Sandy Laycox, editor-in-chief of Leader's Edge. In this episode, we talk with John Fohr, co-founder and CEO of TrustLayer, which is an insurtech that has developed an automated insurance verification system. TrustLayer participated in the first cohort of the BrokerTech Ventures Accelerator 3 years ago. We wanted to hear from a participant just how valuable this opportunity has been and how his company has changed in the years since. Let's hear from John Fohr. John, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to chat with you this afternoon.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. This is great. I've been looking forward to this.
Great. Well, we're going to go ahead and dive right in. A little bit about TrustLayer, your company. You all provide an automated insurance verification process that uses AI and machine learning to enable sort of real-time insights into different aspects of insurance, validity, exclusions, that type of thing. You all joined the first cohort of the BTV Accelerator in 2020. So tell us why you decided to apply for the accelerator and what your company looked like before versus after the experience.
That is a great question. It looked very different than what it is today. So as we were getting into, insurtechs have two different kind of strategies. It seems like one is we're going to come in and we're totally going to displace everything, and like they have this view that everyone in the industry is like has this like antiquated way of doing things, and we're just going to blow everything up. That's good, and sometimes that happens. There's success. We wanted to take a very different approach. We wanted to figure out what is the best way we could work as collaboratively as possible with the insurance industry. And we were super fortunate to meet this group called BTV, which honestly I didn't know much about. But once we started reading about who the founders were, who the like early participants of BrokerTech Ventures was, we were all pretty excited to join. And I say we, it wasn't a lot of we there. I think we had 3 people on the team, and today we're over 50. So in the last 2 years, since doing BTV, we have drastically changed.
Wow.
And grown really significantly. And I don't think we would have done it without BTV. Period. The level of like guidance and mentorship we received was pretty great, and so a lot of our success we look back on to our involvement with working really hand in hand with the BTV crew.
So tell me what you learned about brokerage from this group of definitely esteemed industry players that you never would have learned elsewhere.
Yeah, I think we were unfortunate enough to do it during the beginning of like earlier days of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly, no one was traveling and people were at home, and we were able to get FaceTime with C-level folks at a number of the most innovative brokerages in the country. Don't get me wrong, it would have been great to actually grab a beer with Dan Kehoe. But like in this case, we were at least able to get like really quality time with these brokerages, and they were able to help give us guidance, help craft our solution. So as we were developing it, when you've got it, when you're doing a startup, especially a software startup, there's so many different ways you can zig or zag, and trying to figure out what are the most important pain points to address first, and that priority is probably like determines the life or death of many startups. And so to that point, we were able to get really good guidance on a solution that would help brokers the most provide real value to their clients. So we didn't have to do it in a vacuum. Mm-hmm. We were able to really work and get feedback from our broker partners.
And it sounds like they were working with you really even in the development of what you were building, right from the beginning.
Exactly. I think at that point we had it we had a minimal viable product, but there was a lot of functionality that we were really ramping up. We had a really skeleton crew. We were bootstrapping at the time, and from that point on, we were able to get a lot of feedback on development.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually turned down Y Combinator at the time to join
Wow.
BTV, which, yeah, I mean, a lot of most people say, we were in San Francisco at the time, and most of our friends were like, that doesn't make any sense at all. But we really wanted to, we feel pretty comfortable with tech, and we know we're dealing with a big problem here. But what we want to make sure is we can get as much buy-in and guidance from insurance brokers, because this is tracking proof of coverage or sharing proof of coverage is one of the biggest pain points for a broker, right? It's a huge cost for them. It's takes a bunch of time. Every client of a broker knows the pain of having to validate or track or share proof of coverage with certificates of insurance. And so finding a real world solution that could be brought out at scale, it is honestly, it's very impactful, but it's also really difficult. And so again, that's why getting feedback from these brokers was really helpful.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in addition to the feedback that you and sort of that hands-on, guidance that you were getting from them, you've also taken the experience with BTV beyond the accelerator. So talk to us about what kind of partnerships have come out of that experience for TrustLayer.
Oh, I don't. It would be tough to identify all the partnerships we've gotten from them. Right off the bat, we're probably working with, I don't know if every single one of them, but almost every single BTV member is a partner of ours in some way.
Wow.
At this point, so that has been, from just a pure economics, that was valuable. And then one thing we also did, we wanted to really increase the demonstrate the buy-in, because we know BTV is growing and they've got a whole bunch of really great other startups coming along. So one other thing we did was, in our funding rounds, we happen to have a fancy venture fund, a couple fancy venture funds that led our seed and our Series A. We had Propel and Abstract, and then most recently Craft led our Series A. But separate from that, we also brought in as investors, I think we're at 23 of the top 100 brokerages and carriers. So that was another way that the BTV crew was really vital, really helpful. And I know they've now I think they've created a fund in a little bit more structured way, which is great. But in this case, originally it was just individual investments coming in from their members. And so that was another way that was proved to be really, really helpful, by getting that advice and guidance, not just from our participation in the accelerator, but having them participate in our past 2 funding rounds.
So we actually, we spoke with Holmes Murphy, CEO, and BTV co-CEO Dan Keogh after one of those funding rounds of yours, where they were, I believe, an investor as well as other BTV participants, as you mentioned.
Right.
And we talked to him asked him about that. And he said that, in particular, it was you and your team were really a large part of the value that they saw in TrustLayer. And he really focused in on, I think he said you all could do anything as a team, any other kind of business, and it would probably be successful. So talk to me about your leadership philosophy and how you built your team.
Well, Dan, if you're listening to this podcast, thanks for that. I'm gonna record this bit and send it to my mom.
I have an article where he's quoted. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, no, the flywheel's working, Dan. Honestly, I think it comes down to empowerment. And I saw this when talking to Vic over at M3. I saw this one talking to Dan over at Holmes Murphy and many of the other brokers that we had a chance to work with, where it just came to empowering your team, and then also getting out of their way. So by setting big goals, big lofty goals, getting your team the resources, and then trying to empower them as much as possible, has been, at least at this stage of our company, that is the primary objective that I have. Thankfully now we're at that spot where we can really we have a fair amount of momentum behind us. So we're able to get just incredible people that have been super successful with other startups as well. Mm-hmm. Our head of product just came from, he was previously head of product over at Indio, another like very successful insurtech, and also has experience working with Applied. So like bringing in people that have previously been at very successful earlier stage companies, and then also have like deep experience in the insurance industry, because the insurance industry can be very complicated, and it's important that you have like experts on the team that can guide you, so you don't create something that's just theoretically going to help, but actually helps in like the day-to-day life of a broker or risk manager or anyone else that has to track or simply validate proof of coverage.
Mm-hmm. I have to ask you, because you did mention that you've really built the team up over the past couple of years. Have you all struggled with the war for talent, the great resignation that I know in insurance, everyone I talk to talks about it. So I'm just curious if you all are seeing the same kind of issues, or if maybe there's a difference in what you're doing tech related or the kind of talent you attract.
So no, we haven't. We have seen challenges with hiring in a different way. I think we're fortunate enough that because we're like a insurtech that's got momentum, like there's a lot of interest in what we're building. And so in that way, I think we've had a good influx of candidates. What has been really challenging for us has been, we had 3 people before the pandemic, and we were like mostly remote. And trying to build an environment, trying to build a team in a remote environment is complicated. Mm-hmm. In many cases, you can't like lean over to the side of, your colleague next to you and just have like a 2-minute conversation. It's like people, if they're working in their house, they had to be like more intentional. That's one thing. If you've already got a company that's been up and running for a long time, everyone knows their jobs. And you kind of do the same thing that previous people did in that role. But when 95% of the roles are brand new, the like jobs and descriptions haven't been fully like baked out yet, or they're still evolving. And to that point, that has been complicated, where we've seen like some people, you have to just be more intentional by like reaching out to your colleagues or to share what you're working on. And so that part has been challenging. And we've also seen like in some cases, like for example, I have a woman that works here, somewhat a little bit more junior, but she's in the office every day, and she has just like crushed it because she can just overhear in one of the few people that have been in the office for a longer period of time, and like she's been able to just learn through osmosis or just overhearing conversations. So she's just really been able to like accelerate her growth, which we're all really proud of her, and like she's just an incredible addition to the team. But it just, for me, it reinforces the difficulty of onboarding and training staff in a remote environment, especially when you're like a newer company.
Yep, I think that makes a lot of sense. All right, so moving on to one more question about the accelerator. What advice do you have for new participants or companies that are considering applying for the BTV Accelerator?
Do it. It's not that so I mean, if you're going to be in insurance, I'm not aware of another accelerator that's out there that offers the same level of buy-in from brokers. So to that point, I really thought the BTV, I mean, they're in a unique spot where they've got like real buy, and now they have carriers, and I think they've got a few underwriters, or excuse me, they've got a few wholesalers. So to that point, if you're going to be in this industry and you want to work with the industry, BTV is a great community to join.
That was John Fohr of TrustLayer. I hope you enjoyed our conversation on the BrokerTech Ventures Accelerator. You can find more Leaders Edge podcasts at SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.